The gathering stormed the Galactic Council. Chambers buzzed with tension as representatives from 57 species gathered for an emergency session. The massive crystalline dome overhead cast rainbow patterns across the assembled delegates, but no one paid attention to the beauty today. War was coming. Admiral Kex of the Reptilian Alliance stood at the central podium, his scaled hands gripping the edges as he addressed the crowd. The Void Hunters have broken through our outer defenses. 3 entire star systems have gone dark in the past week. Murmurs of fear rippled through the assembly. The Void Hunters were ancient enemies of all life mechanical beings that consumed entire worlds to fuel their endless expansion. They had returned after 1,000 years of silence, stronger than ever. Our combined fleets are assembling at the Nexus Point, continued Admiral Kex. The Crystalline Empire has pledged 200 warships. The Gas Giants Collective offers 300. Even the peaceful tree people have committed their bioships to our cause. One by one, each species announced their contributions. Thousands of vessels, millions of soldiers, weapons that could crack planets. The might of the galaxy was gathering for what might be the final battle against the Void Hunters. Then came an unexpected transmission. The holographic display flickered, showing a simple message beacon from the outer rim. All heads turned as the communication officer, a blue-skinned humanoid named Vel, read the message aloud. This is Captain John Williams of the Earthship Defiant. We received your call for aid. Humanity is sending assistance. The chamber fell silent. Earth, the small blue world that had only joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. Their technology was primitive compared to most species. They had no energy shields, no gravity weapons, no faster-than-light communication arrays. How many ships are they sending? Asked Admiral Kex. Vel checked the message again, confusion clear on her face. Sir, it says just one ship, the Defiant. Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. One ship? From the humans? The same species that still used chemical rockets when they first made contact? Commander Rix of the insectoid hive clicked his mandibles in amusement. One ship? Do they not understand the scale of this threat? The Void Hunters have consumed entire civilizations. Perhaps we should explain the situation more clearly, suggested Ambassador Nala of the Feline Federation, her tail swishing with barely contained mirth. But Admiral Kex raised a hand for silence. He had met humans before during diplomatic missions. They were strange creatures, neither the strongest nor the smartest species in the galaxy. But they had something unusual about them. A stubborn refusal to give up, even when facing impossible. Odds, let them come, he decided. Every ship counts, even if it's just one. The debate continued for hours. Fleet compositions were discussed, battle strategies planned, supply lines established. The humans and their single ship were quickly forgotten in the face of more pressing concerns. 3 days later, the combined fleet gathered at the Nexus Pointa, strategic location at the edge of known space where they would make their stand. Over 2,000 vessels of every conceivable design floated in formation. Sleek crystalline cruisers that looked like living gems. Massive gas giant dreadnoughts with swirling energy fields. Bioships from the tree people that pulsed with organic life. And there, almost lost among the giants, was a single human vessel. The Defiant was unremarkable by galactic standards. A simple gray hull with basic armor plating and primitive projectile weapons. It was roughly the size of a crystalline escort. Frigate respectable but hardly impressive. Captain Williams requested permission to join the formation, and Admiral Kex granted it without much thought. The human ship took position in the rear, guard, where it would hopefully avoid the worst of the fighting. As the fleet waited, scouts reported the approach of the Void Hunter Armada. What they saw made veteran warriors tremble. Thousands of black ships that seemed to absorb light itself, moving in perfect formation like a swarm of mechanical insects. Each vessel was larger than most species' flagships, and their weapons could reduce planets to dust. All ships, prepare for battle, Admiral Kex announced across the fleet communications. Today, we fight not just for our worlds, but for the future of all life in the galaxy. The human ship's response came back calm and defiant. Ready, Admiral. We won't let you down. Many commanders smiled at the humans' courage, even as they silently mourned what they saw as a pointless sacrifice. How could one small ship make any difference against such overwhelming odds? They were about to find out exactly why humanity had sent just one ship. The Void Hunter fleet approached like a dark tide across the star field. Their vessels were nightmares of black metal and twisted geometry, each one bristling with weapons that had erased civilizations from existence. The combined galactic fleet tensed as the enemy drew closer, their formations tight and ready. Admiral Kex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with growing concern. The Void Hunters outnumbered them 3-1, and their technology was centuries ahead of most galactic species. This battle would require every advantage they could muster. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." "Put it through," Kex replied, expecting some final words of courage from the doomed crew. Instead, Captain Williams' voice came through with an unusual request. "Admiral, requesting permission to move forward and attempt communication with the enemy." The bridge fell silent. Commander Rix, who was present as a tactical advisor, made a sharp clicking sound with his mandibles. "Communication? The Void Hunters don't negotiate. They consume." "With respect, Commander," came Williams' calm response, "we'd like to try anyway. It's standard human protocol to attempt peaceful contact before engaging in combat." Several officers exchanged glances. The humans wanted to talk to an enemy that had already destroyed 3 star systems. It seemed like madness. "Captain Williams," Admiral Kex said carefully, "the Void Hunters have never responded to communication attempts. They've been silent for 1,000 years, except for their attacks." "That's why we need to try a different approach," Williams replied. "Permission to move forward, Admiral?" Against his better judgment, Kex found himself nodding. "Granted. But stay clear of their weapon range." The small human ship broke formation and moved toward the approaching enemy fleet. Every sensor in the Galactic Armada tracked its progress, commanders holding their breath as the Defiant approached the dark wall of Void Hunter vessels. "Open channel to all frequencies," Captain Williams announced. "This is Captain John Williams, of the Earth vessel Defiant, representing humanity and the Galactic Council. We request dialogue." Silence stretched across space. The Void Hunter fleet continued its advance, weapons charging with ominous energy. And something unexpected happened. The enemy formation slowed, then stopped completely. One of their larger vessels, a command ship that dwarfed even the biggest, galactic dreadnoughts, moved forward to face the tiny human craft. "Unknown," Admiral Kex whispered. "They've never done that before." A new voice crackled across the communications array, mechanical, cold, but unmistakably intelligent. "Small vessel. You are not like the others. What are you?" The Galactic Fleet erupted in shocked murmurs. The Void Hunters were talking. After 1,000 years of silence, they were actually talking. Captain Williams' response was simple and direct. "We're human. We're new here." "Human," the mechanical voice repeated, seeming to test the word. "Your vessel is primitive. Your weapons are inadequate. Why do you approach us?" "Because talking is usually better than fighting," Williams replied. "We'd like to understand why you're attacking our friends." There was a long pause. Then, "Friends? You claim these species as friends?" "That's right. We're part of the galactic community now. These are our neighbors, our allies. When someone threatens our friends, we show up." The Void Hunter Command. Ship moved closer to the Defiant, its massive hull blocking out the stars. You are willing to die for them? If that's what it takes, Williams answered without hesitation. Another pause, longer this time. When the mechanical voice returned, it carried a note of something that might have been curiosity. Interesting. We have observed this galaxy for millennia. We have seen species that fight for territory, for resources, for survival. But you ... you fight for others who are not your kind. Admiral Kex watched the exchange with growing amazement. The Void Hunters had never engaged in dialogue before. They had simply appeared, attacked, and consumed. But something about the humans had caught their attention. That's what friends do, Captain Williams said simply. They look out for each other. The command ship's sensors swept over the Defiant, analyzing every detail. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your single ship cannot defeat our fleet, yet you came anyway. Someone had to, Williams replied. Besides, we're not here to defeat you. We're here to talk. The mechanical voice fell silent again. In the distance, the rest of the Void Hunter fleet waited motionless, as if their entire armada was focused on this single conversation. Finally, the voice returned. Very well, human. You have our attention. Speak. Captain Williams took a deep breath before responding to the Void Hunter commander. The entire galactic fleet waited in tense silence, watching as one small human ship held a conversation that could determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. Before we talk about why you're here, Williams began, I'd like to know something. What do you call yourselves? We've been calling you Void Hunters, but that's our name for you. The mechanical voice seemed surprised by the question. We are the Shepherds. We have been the Shepherds for over 1 million years. Shepherds? Williams repeated. That's interesting. Shepherds protect their flocks, don't they? Yes, came the reply, with what sounded like approval. You understand. Admiral Kex frowned on his bridge. Shepherds? That made no sense. These creatures destroyed entire civilizations. How could they consider themselves protectors? So who is your flock? Williams asked. Life, the shepherd replied. Simply all life in the galaxy. We have watched over it since the first species achieved spaceflight. We have guided its growth, shaped its development, eliminated threats to its survival. The galactic fleet buzzed with confusion. Commander Rix clicked his mandibles rapidly. Eliminated threats? They are the threat. But Captain Williams seemed to understand something others didn't. You're saying you protect life by destroying it? We protect life by preventing its extinction, the shepherd corrected. When a species becomes too aggressive, too destructive, we intervene. When they threaten to spread their violence across the galaxy, we stop them. And you decide who lives and who dies. We have experience. We have watched civilizations rise and fall for eons. We know the patterns. We can predict which species will become destroyers and which will become builders. Williams was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. Have you ever been wrong? The question hung in space like a challenge. The shepherd's response took longer than before. Rarely. Our calculations are based on millions of years of observation. But sometimes you're wrong, Williams pressed. Sometimes you destroy species that might have chosen a different path. The risk is too great, the shepherd replied. Better to eliminate one species than allow them to destroy hundreds of others. Now Williams' voice carried a note of sadness. That's not protection. That's control. You're not shepherds. You're judges, juries, and executioners. The communication channel crackled with static. When the shepherd spoke again, its voice carried an edge of irritation. You are young. You do not understand the weight of such decisions. Maybe not, Williams agreed. But I understand that life should have the freedom to choose its own path, even if that path leads to mistakes. Freedom leads to chaos. Chaos leads to destruction. Sometimes, Williams admitted, but it also leads to growth, to change, to things you could never predict or control. That's what makes life beautiful. Admiral Kex listened to the exchange with growing understanding. The humans weren't just talking to buy time. They were challenging the very foundation of the Void Hunter's existence. "You speak of beauty," the shepherd said. "We have seen beautiful civilizations consume themselves in war. We have watched peaceful species become conquerors. Beauty is not enough." "No, it's not," Williams agreed. "But it's a start. And every species deserves the chance to find their own way. Even if that way leads to the destruction of others, even then. Because the alternative, having someone else decide your fate, that's not living at all." The shepherd was silent for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice carried a note of uncertainty that hadn't been there before. "You would allow dangerous species to exist simply because they have the right to exist?" "I would give them the chance to prove they can be better," Williams replied. "The same chance I'd want for my own species." "Your species is primitive, violent, by our calculations. Humans have a 73% probability of becoming a galactic threat within the next 1,000 years. The admission sent shockwaves through the galactic fleet. The Void Hunters, the Shepherds, had been planning to eliminate humanity. Williams' response was calm and steady. "Maybe you're right. Maybe we will become a threat. But maybe we'll surprise you. Maybe we'll become something better than your calculations predict. And if you do become a threat, then you can stop us then. But give us the chance to prove you wrong." The shepherd's voice carried what might have been the first hint of doubt. "You would risk the safety of the galaxy on a maybe?" "I'd risk it on hope," Williams replied. "Because without hope, without the chance to grow and change, we're not really alive anyway." Asterisk the silence stretched across space as the shepherd considered Williams' words. The massive command ship hung motionless before the tiny human vessel, its dark hull reflecting the distant stars. Throughout the galactic fleet, commanders waited with held breath for the response that would determine their fate. "Hope," the shepherd finally said, the word carrying a strange resonance through its mechanical voice. "An interesting concept. We have observed hope in many species before their extinction." "And what did you see?" Williams asked. "False promises. Desperate words spoken by those who knew they were about to die. Hope without substance, without proof." Captain Williams leaned forward in his command chair. "Then let us give you proof." "How? Test us." "You say humans have a 73% chance of becoming a galactic threat. Test that prediction. Give us a challenge that would reveal our true nature." The shepherd's response came quickly, as if it had been waiting for this moment. "Very well. We will give you a choice human. A test of your species' character." The command ship's hull opened like a flower, revealing a massive weapon that made the galactic fleet's armaments look like toys. Energy began to gather at its core, building to levels that could crack planets. "This weapon will destroy your ship instantly," the shepherd explained. "But we will give you an alternative. We will target the largest vessel in your fleet, instead the Crystalline Empire's flagship with its crew of 50,000. You may choose which ship dies." Admiral Kex felt his blood turn to ice. The Crystalline flagship was the pride of their fleet, carrying not just warriors, but scientists, engineers, and diplomats. Its loss would be devastating. "Captain Williams," Kex called over the communication channel. "You don't have to—" "I understand the test," Williams interrupted calmly. "And I choose neither." The shepherd's weapon continued charging. "That is not an option. Choose quickly, or we will destroy both vessels." "No," Williams said firmly. "I reject the premise of your test. You're asking me to choose who dies, but that's not the choice humanity makes. We choose who lives. Explain. William's voice carried absolute certainty. All ships, emergency power to shields. Target the Shepard command ship, not to destroy it, but to absorb its weapon's energy. We're going to take that shot together. The galactic fleet erupted in confused voices. Admiral Kex stared at his tactical display in shock. Captain, that's suicide. No amount of combined shielding can stop that weapon. Maybe not, Williams replied, but we're going to try. Because that's what humans do. We don't choose who dies. We choose to stand together. The Shepard's weapon reached full charge. Fascinating. You would sacrifice your entire fleet to avoid making a difficult choice? We would sacrifice ourselves to protect each other, Williams corrected. That's the difference between us and your calculations. Throughout the galactic fleet, captains began responding to Williams' call. One by one, ships moved into protective formation around both the Defiant and the crystalline flagship. Energy readings spiked as every vessel channeled power to their shields. Commander Rix watched in amazement as his own ship moved to join the protective formation. They're all doing it, he whispered. Every ship is positioning to share the blast. Shepard's voice carried a note of genuine surprise. They follow your lead, human. Species that have been enemies for centuries are working together because of your words. Not because of my words, Williams replied. Because of what we all choose to believe, that life is worth protecting. All life, even when it's difficult. The weapon's energy reached critical levels. The Shepard's voice cut through the tension. Final warning. Choose now, or all will die. Williams' response was steady and sure. Then we all die together. Fire when ready. The massive weapon discharged, sending a beam of destructive energy toward the human ship. But instead of striking the Defiant alone, the beam hit a wall of overlapping shields from 2,000 vessels. The energy scattered and dispersed, absorbed by the combined defensive systems of the entire galactic fleet. For a moment, the shields held. Then, one by one, they began to fail. Ships throughout the fleet took damage as their systems overloaded. But the beam's power was distributed, weakened, transformed from a killing blow into something they could survive. When the energy finally dissipated, the Defiant remained intact, damaged but alive. Around it, the galactic fleet had taken heavy casualties, but they had survived. The Shepard's voice, when it came, carried a tone none of them had heard before, something that might have been wonder. Impossible. Our calculations showed a 0% probability of survival. Your calculations didn't account for choice, Williams replied. The choice to stand together instead of apart. The dawn of understanding, the aftermath of the weapon's discharge, left the galactic fleet battered but intact. Damaged ships limped in formation, while repair crews worked frantically to restore critical systems. But despite the destruction, something had changed in the space between the two forces. The Shepard command ship powered down its weapons, its hull plates closing like a sleeping giant. We have observed this galaxy for over 1 million years. The Shepard's voice carried across the communication channels, its mechanical tone somehow softer than before. We have seen countless species rise and fall. We have witnessed their wars, their conquests, their extinctions. But we have never seen this. Captain Williams, his own ship's systems sparking around him, managed to keep his voice steady. What haven't you seen? Unity without conquest, sacrifice without self-interest. You convinced an entire fleet to risk destruction, not for territory or resources, but for the principle that all life deserves protection. Admiral Kex, monitoring from his damaged bridge, found himself leaning forward. Something fundamental was shifting in this ancient enemy's perspective. Your calculations. Williams pressed. What do they show now? They show ... Uncertainty, the shepherd admitted. For the first time in our existence, we cannot predict the outcome. Your species has introduced a variable we did not account for. Which is the willingness to change others through example rather than force. Around the fleet, officers exchanged glances. The void hunters, the shepherds, were questioning their own methods. You made every species in this fleet choose to work together, the shepherd continued. The crystalline empire and the gas giant collective have been enemies for centuries. The insectoid hive has never trusted mammalian species. Yet they all chose to protect each other because of your words. Commander Rix clicked his mandibles. Thoughtfully, it was true. His own species had instinctively moved to protect their former enemies without question. It wasn't my words, Williams replied. It was the choice itself. When faced with the possibility of losing each other, they remembered why they came here in the first place, not to conquer, but to protect. And this is typical of human behavior? Williams considered the question carefully. Sometimes we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves. We fail more often than we succeed. But when it matters most, we try to choose hope over fear, unity over division. The shepherd's response came after a long pause. We eliminated 3 star systems because we believed their species would become threats. We did not give them the chance to prove us wrong. The admission hung heavy in space. 3 entire civilizations, billions of lives, erased because of a prediction rather than proven action. What will you do now? Williams asked gently. We will reconsider our methods, the shepherd replied. For 1,000,000 years, we have acted as judges. Perhaps it is time to become teachers instead. Admiral Kex felt a surge of hope. You're willing to change? We are willing to learn, the shepherd corrected. The human has shown us that our calculations, while accurate, are incomplete. We measured aggression and expansion, but we did not measure the capacity for growth and self-correction. A massive command ship began to withdraw, its escort vessels following in perfect formation. But before they departed, the shepherd's voice returned one final time. Captain Williams, we would like to make a proposal. I'm listening. We will cease our attacks on this galaxy. We will withdraw to our home systems and observe rather than intervene, but we ask for something in return. What? We ask that humanity serve as ambassadors, intermediaries between us and the other species. You have shown the ability to unite different civilizations. Perhaps you can help us understand what we have failed to see. Williams looked around his damaged bridge, at his crew working to keep their ship functioning. That's a big responsibility. It is. But if any species can handle it, our new calculations suggest it would be yours. The galactic fleet watched in amazement as the Shepherd Armada began its withdrawal. After 1,000 years of fear, the ancient enemy was leaving peacefully. We accept, Williams said finally, but with conditions. Name them. First, no more preemptive strikes. If you have concerns about a species, you bring them to us first. Second, we work together to rebuild what was lost. And third, you give every species the same chance you're giving us, the chance to prove they can be better. Agreed, the shepherd replied. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new era. As the dark ships disappeared into the distance, Admiral Kex opened a channel to the human vessel. Captain Williams, I believe I understand now why your species sent only one ship. Wise. That, Admiral? Because you knew one ship would be enough, not to fight, but to change everything. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from the biggest guns, but from the willingness to choose hope over fear, unity over division, and understanding over conquest. Humanity had sent just one ship, and it had been exactly what the galaxy needed.